All right, welcome to the Grimdark Breakdown. And today is Dataslate Day. And it's not just any Dataslate. This is almost certainly the final Dataslate of 10th edition.
And again,
So,
I was ahead of the game
why were you ahead of the game?
because I noticed it before you again.
Because you live, anyway, he lives on the East Coast. Therefore, he gets up earlier than me. But you got it, Sparky.
Got to take the dubs where you can get them.
Got to take where you get them. Okay, so here's the deal. For those of you that are new at the Grimdark, we try to do meta breakdowns, look at things from a competitive standpoint. So we always try to say, what could the average player do? And then what could someone that a faction expert do as we're looking at these things? So we're going to break down the winners and losers. Now, when we do this, keep in mind, just because your faction may have gotten no changes whatsoever, doesn't mean you're not a winner or a loser, because as the meta around you shifts, the entire landscape changes. So that being said, Jace, why don't you kick us off? Who do you want to start with?
Let's start with Chaos Knights.
Chaos Knights. Where are we going to start as we debate them out?
You can have fun.
You can have fun. Okay.
You'll go to a tournament. You'll win a couple games. We don't know what the new detachment they're getting looks like, so this could change. But as they stand right now, they got no big point changes at all. Their big point changes to their big knights was the last Dataslate. You can have fun with them occasionally. Occasionally, you can place in the top cut, depending on what other armies are there, especially now since we've had some adjustments. But I think they're frisky and fun.
Yeah, I think that, whether you're an average player to a good player, you could go to a 5-round tournament and you can pick up 2 wins, because triple to spoiler is the same as it was last week, right? The problem that they're going to have is let's say they win their first game, and then let's say they win their second game, they're going to get stomped the next 2 games because they're now playing against players that know how to deal with knights. And so I am hopeful that they're going to get some options here this month with their new unit and their new detachment. But I do agree with you. I think you can have fun. All right. I'm going to go straight to the top. I'm going to go Tau Empire. And I believe Tau Empire is going to be a Meta Monday pick.
For sure.
I think that they were already in that middle. I always rank armies in 3 tiers. There's like the top tier, the middle tier, which is typically the big one, and then there's the bottom tier. They were at the very top of that middle tier. And the only thing that changed was literally one of their core units in stealth suits got cheaper. So if you say that's all that they got, they get better. But then they're getting the twin lance. And I think that might be the most busted data sheet I've seen in all of 10th edition.
Yep.
It's literally, if it was 40 points more, I would still say it's an auto take in 100% of list. So the fact that they just got an incredibly good new unit that is literally top tier, and the fact that a core unit got a teeny bit cheaper, and then the meta, everyone at the top got a little bit more expensive. I think that we're going to see Tau they're going to sail into the sunset of 10th edition with their little blue faces doing very well.
No argument from me.
All right, brother. Next up.
Well, since you went to the top, I'm going to go to the top. Necrons.
Yep.
Pantheon of Woe feels a little woe today, but they still have Star Shatter Arsenal. They went up
all the other detachments.
They went up 15 points on each shard. And
no, they went up 10 points
or
on
10
each
point
shard. In Pantheon of Woe, the enhancements each went up 15.
So here's my thing. Imagine Necrons like a fire, and it's a particular type of fire. And you have to have like a chemical fire. You can't put it out with your regular extinguisher. You've got to have a special extinguisher to put it out. All they did was fan the flames a little bit or knock them down, but they didn't knock them out. Yeah. And the thing is, it's like, I was thinking about this before we did this video. They are playing with kids' gloves right now with these adjustments that we saw today. Because what's going to end up happening if you got kids' glove adjustments and you're going into 11th thinking, hey, I've been the top dog for 6 months. Guess what? You're about to get slammed by them when the 11th edition comes out, or 10.5, or whichever direction we're moving with this.
So the actual rules that got changed was the Silent King no longer buffs monsters, aka all the shards. And then the Necrosor, I think, the new little fights first unit, it got more expensive, and it no longer buffs all of them, and they all went up by 10 points. So, when I was talking to Jace earlier, I said, hey, every weekend we look at this, the average army is winning, like a good army is winning or placing 3 to 4 times. They're placing 12 times. They fundamentally got a 10% increase in the cost of their army, but they're 3 times better than they're 300% better. So I do think it's going to bring them down a little bit, but I was listening to somebody else today and they actually had a really good take. They were like, instead of Necrons winning all these events, here's what's going to happen. They're going to go 4-0 or 5-0, and then they're going to play a real game, but they're still going to be placing high because they're going to stomp on most of the meta out there. And I think my biggest outrage is the fact that like, this is like Necrons at the beginning of the edition, Aeldari at the beginning of the edition, Sisters 2 years ago, Mordaka, Bridgehead. This is like ridiculous levels of power. And they didn't I mean, it is clear to me the entire team is working on 11th edition. And they said the game is in a very healthy place with the exception of like just one or two at the top and one or two at the bottom. Don't break it. And let's just coast for the next 2 to 3 months. And then we have 11th edition. It just sucks because what people are going to remember is at the end of the edition for 5 months straight, just getting pounded by all the shards.
And, just to lead this here, every dog has had its day for the most part in 10th. And that run has been for a 3 to 4 month window. I mean, Death Guard had it last summer. Necrons is having it right now with another army that if you watch our Meta Monday breakdowns, that's what we talk about. I saw what you just did there. That's dirty. But at the end of the day, I think if they are continually at these data slates, regardless if they're working on a new edition or not, there should be a set group of people that's working to keep the competitive balance of the game there. Because if you don't, you discourage a certain group of players that are tired of running into this overpowered stuff at every tournament, and it becomes less fun eventually.
Yeah. So we'll keep on moving, and I'm going to pick Tyranids. I think Tyranids, unfortunately, they were in a kind of they were right between rough and can have fun. So right now, I'm going to start them at the very back over here of you can have fun. I do think a really good Tyranid player that knows how to play tunnel snakes can do some work, but they're working with some cruddy data sheets and they're just relying on some okay rules. And I just think they're on a little bit of a rough spot. But who you got?
I'm going to take Chaos Space Marines.
They're in a great spot.
I think they are a good army. I think a couple of their foes have come down enough to where they'll have some game now. I think we'll see them more at top tables. All people are figuring out Huron tech or Black Arc tech, or Black Hand, Black Fist, whatever the hell his name is. They're figuring him out. He's in a lot of lists that have been competing well. I think they're good. If Tau and Necrons had come down a little bit more, I think they would even be better, but they're a good army. They're placing. They are in a perfect spot that you would want to be in. You're not too overcosted. You're not too undercosted. We might see a little adjustment here and there, but it's not going to be enough to break the bank on.
Yep. I don't think any of the new like Raider detachments are going to be just dominating it, but I do think there are some strong ones. And I think they could maybe be the top of good armies right now. All right. We're going to do Black Templars. Man, they needed love. They didn't get it. 10 points on the big brick. Maybe there's something there, but it just, for such a cool army, they're aesthetically awesome. They've got a neat play style. They just really need retooling, and they're not going to get that in a data slate. Like they need new rules. Like I would equate it to like when the Dark Angels got Deathwing Knights. They were terrible. And then they had to redo the rules and go, okay, you know what? We're going to make them 70 points more, but we're going to give them anti-monster and anti-vehicle, and we're going to make their weapons do 2 damage. And it was like, oh gosh, now they're really good. Like they need rules updates. And so, When I put an army in eBay, so I apologize, we should have done this at the beginning. eBay means this is either the time to buy that army or sell that army. If you are a rage baiter, go ahead and sell them and you'll regret it. If you play that faction, there has never been a better time to go on eBay and buy some models that you want because they will be at an all-time low. Rough is going to be, even if you're a good player, you're going to have a hard time winning games. You can have fun means you could win some games. If you're really good at that faction, you could win. Good armies, obviously, are armies you can win a tournament with them, or you can place well consistently. And then meta is going to be, if you play this army and you're good, this is the time to convince your wife or your +1 to let you go play and go win your first RT or your first GT. All right, who you picking?
World Eaters.
Boys, my beautiful boys.
I wouldn't say they're in a rough spot. I mean, who wouldn't have fun charging things down people's throats? It just looks fun. Regardless if you're winning or losing, it's a fun play style. Sure, there's going to be people that knock it and hate it like me, but if I was on the other side of the coin and I got to throw a dump truck load of dice at somebody, I would have fun regardless if it was eBay quality. In this list, it's just fun. You're still going to win. They still pop up placing. If we were to extend it to a top 10, I guarantee you there is more representation of them. They are fun right now. They got a points adjustment to the Forge Fiend. I think
Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth.
But I mean,
shut your mouth.
It's not anything to write home
That was
about.
insulting. That was insulting. That's like you saying, hey, I'm thirsty, and someone gets an eyedropper and gets some water and goes, here you go, princess. Like, don't.
No, if you've been hiking across the Sahara for like 3 days, I mean, I'll take an eyedropper of water.
Here's the thing. You're right, but I feel it's a little bit of a cop-out. They are, of all the armies I've ever played, they are the most fun army to play. Without question, bar none. Whether you're winning or losing, you're having fun. When the game, I will say this. When the game is over, I've never had an opponent that didn't have a smile on their face and was like, that was great. Everyone hates playing World Eaters while you're playing World Eaters because it feels like even when you're shooting them, that at any second they're going to crash into you and then, all hell's going to break loose.
Mm-hmm.
I personally think I would put them in either they're the very bottom of Can You Have Fun or they're the top of Rough.
No, we can put them in the...
We'll see where they settle.
Yep.
I'm going to go Blood Angels, and Blood Angels got a couple of quiet buffs. I actually think they're going to be a very good army. Mm-hmm. So their priest, which was basically untaken, can now go with Blade Guards. So I think that gives them help. Azeroth, it went down in points. That gives them some help. And the fact that all the Predators that were above them all got just a little bit more expensive. All in all, they were a good army. I think they're going to have a great. They're going to sail into the end of the edition doing well. They're going to win some tournaments. They're going to place well. They're going to have good games. And I think they're going to be a very, very competitive army.
I agree.
Who you got?
I'll take Thousand Suns.
T-Suns.
I'm going to put them in good armies. I mean, you don't see anyone, for the most part, playing their demon detachment. All the Chaos have a demon detachment. That's the only point adjustment they really had, was in their demon detachment.
Yep, they didn't touch rubrics and they didn't touch the Terminators.
They had a great January. They had a mid-February. Their setup still good. All people got to do is play them. And
see, I kind of disagree a little bit. I thought they were better than they are. I think they're the top of Can You Have Fun. I think that, unfortunately, the problem they're going to have is the armies they want to get into a shooting match with can shoot better. The armies they want to get into a scrap with, they're going to get the other guys scrap better. Like, whatever their game plan is, there's somebody that does it significantly better. And there isn't anything like Blood Angels. Like, you go, okay, you know what? They've got speed. Chaos Space Marines have a lot of options. Tau have shooting. Necrons have the stat check. Thousand Suns don't have any of that.
They just got shenanigans.
Yeah, but here's the thing. The first time you play T-Suns, you're like, oh my God, they've got all these crazy things. Second time, you're like, man, okay, they got those mortal wounds. By the third time, you're like, okay, I know. Okay, I got it. So I don't know, man. I think they should be top of Can We Have Fun? Like, okay. I just don't think I think we thought they were better than they are.
They are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
I'm going to do Custodes. Custodes, they're going to be somewhere between good army. I'm going to put them in good army. They did take a lot of strays today. So, the Wardens went up and the Inquisitors went up within agents, which was just to ding Custodes. So the average Custodes list did go up. enough where they're going to have to drop a scoring unit, I still think they're going to be a good army. You just have to know how to play an elite army because every unit is so valuable. There isn't a trash unit. There isn't like a oopsie poopsie unit or any of that. So I think they're a good army, but they're probably going to be towards the bottom of good armies.
Okay.
Who you got?
I'm going to take Imperial Knights, and I'm going to put them next to their brothers, or the brothers on the bad side, Chaos. You can
I
have
think they're
fun with them.
worse. So I'm gonna put them. I'm gonna put them down. I
But
think they're still in the can. You have fun,
yeah.
but I think Chaos Knights are better than Imperial Knights.
Okay. No
Imperial
argument.
Knights just they don't have the. They run the triple Lancer stat check or the Atropos stuff, but like the Despoiler can take on all comers. They don't really have that. And so I feel like they struggle. I'm very curious in the new unit because it's kind of between the two, what its stats are going to look like. But I agree with you. I think you can have fun. I think you can play them well. But yeah.
And they're really not that expensive to get into if you don't buy the big knights. So,
Well, and you could buy, like, there's a million of them that you can get on resale. You could, we helped a buddy of ours go to a tournament we went to up in Oklahoma. I want to say we got him over the course of like a month and a half. So we were rushing. We got him 2,000 points, like ready to go. And most of it we bought was painted. I want to say we spent like $400.
yeah.
So like, it's to your point, like it's a pretty reasonable as long as you're buying stuff secondhand and you know how to kind of kit bash it a little bit.
Yep.
All right. Hot take. Guard is going to be the best army in the game. So there are two guard archetypes that are going to be playing. There is the straight up, I will fight you best army in the game, which is Recon Guard with 240 infantry. I understand it takes a very special kind of person to own that, to know how to play that and not run out of time, and also to be willing to sacrifice their back to bend over that many times and move all those units. But if you can do that and you practice it, I truly don't know how you lose with that list. I straight up don't. The OC is insane. The damage is really good. The survivability is off the charts. I do not know how you deal with it. The second archetype is the standard grizzled veteran unit, guard that was running. And here's the thing. The average list was taking 2 Dorns, so it went up 30 points. So you're literally going to drop an enhancement and you're going to switch one unit around. That's it. And they're going to just keep on rocking. I think because Necrons did take multiple nerfs, none of them were big, but they did take some. Guard basically just their list went up 30 points. I think Guard are positioned to end out 10th edition as the best army in the
hot take. I still think the Dorn should be 300 points and above. That's just my opinion. It's the best shooting platform, arguably,
it's
in the game
nasty.
almost. Like
the
the
fact that it's got the
volume
12
of fire.
Well, and dude, 12 toughness
Yeah.
and a 2 base save with 18 health. It checks all the boxes. Durability, damage. Yeah, it's a nasty unit. All right, who you got?
I'm going to take Chaos Demons. I think they're probably they can be, I see where you put them. I still think you can have fun with them. Their new tech they just figured out has now been nerfed.
Uh-huh.
So, I think they're still fun with just the models and that kind of thing, and being able to run the big Bellicor and running Rodigus and running the Great Unclean.
It's fun. You're gonna lose.
Yeah. But there's going to be some people that just have never seen.
To your point, here's why I think they're rough. Here's your wins. I can't deal with the stat check of you having a bunch of big monsters.
Yeah.
I've never fought these big monsters, and it intimidates me. Or you're an expert pilot and you know exactly what to do with the army. If you're the average player and you're playing somebody that's fought demons before, whether it's in one of the other the armies or whatever, you're gonna get smoked. They just don't have the tools.
Fair enough.
All right, let's do Grey Knights. Put them right there. They needed all kinds of love. They got literally nothing. You could sum up Grey Knights like this. If you look at their data sheets, you'd go, oh, okay, they want to get in melee. They have good durability, good saves, good health, good melee profiles, and then their best attachments are all about shooting. That they get no respect when it comes to every army in the game got a model, got a unit, one unit. They didn't. They're the only army in the entire game that didn't. They got an upgrade kit. Like their range. They are aesthetically probably the coolest looking like faction. Their army looks like dog shit. They need love terribly from a data sheet and a rules perspective and a data sheet perspective and a detachment perspective, and they got none of it. So, you know, I think Grey Knights are, I think they're in a rough spot. If you have another army, I'd put them on the shelf and play something else.
I'm going to go ahead and drink the Kool-Aid, and I'm going to put the Steven Crowder sign on that says change my mind.
Oh boy.
Put Space Wolves down on eBay.
Space Corgis, sir.
I think they have potential.
They got no changes, by the way.
No changes.
They haven't won shit for the last 3 months, and they didn't get a single change.
What I hope in either 10.5 or 11, where we're going, is this army is aesthetically pleasing.
They look awesome.
There are people that like this army a lot. We've seen it in the comments. You know, when they got their range refresh, it was the like
chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss. They need Dorn, and they need detachments.
Dorn
or not? Lehman Russ. They need Russ, and they need detachments just for their army that synergizes them. If you want to retool the way that, you know,
here's what I think. They need an identity, brother.
Yeah.
Like if you look at all the Divergent chapters, okay, you got Blood Angels, like they're fast and melee. Okay. You've got then Dark Angels. They're very tough and they have some good melee, but they balance defense and offense. They're kind of the balanced faction, if you will. Like Templar moves slower, but they hit like a brick house when they get there. They have like 300-point bricks that have all these characters that have all the rules stapled on them, and they just nuke stuff. Space Wolves, in my opinion, don't have an identity. And so they need to figure out who they want them to be. And I feel like with the Chaos side, they've done a better job. World Eaters are the melee faction. T-Sons are the shenanigan, you know, pew pew laser beam. We're balanced, but we have a lot of shenanigans. Emperor's Children is all about speed.
And jazz hands.
And jazz hands. Death Guard is all about toughness. To me, they need to figure out the identity because, in my opinion, Blood Angels should be the fast faction. Then I actually think Dark Angels should be, this hot take, should be more of a shooting and tough faction that does have like a teeny bit of melee. I think that Space Wolves should be the tough melee faction, and Black Templar is going to be the slow moving, you know, hammer, right? But they just have no identity. Because they have no identity, like they just don't do anything well.
And something cool that they could do with this army to lean into that, instead of giving Oath of Moment.
Well, they got to get, if they don't get rid of Oath of Moment, people are going to fucking riot.
Like with their army, like for instance, the wolf characters that you can run.
Yeah, the Wolfen, yeah.
If a unit is below half strength, right, that unit gets +2 move towards that target and +1 to hit and wound.
I mean, there's all kinds of cool. Like,
yeah.
They just, I think to the point though, we're both saying they need an identity. They need an army rule that leans into what they do. Because right now, if you're like, okay, I want to play like a tough jaily list type thing, I'd be like, play Blood Angels. They can jail and they actually do damage. And if you're like, well, okay, well, I actually want to shoot. Okay, go play Ultramarines. Okay, well, I just want to sit on a point and be tough. Okay, go play Dark Angels. Like, there are other Space Marines that just do it so much better.
And I think they're spread too thin, too. Chaos isn't. They are.
I'm going to do Orks. I think Orks are right in the middle of you can have fun. I think that I don't think you're going to see a whole bunch of Orks just winning a ton of stuff. They got no point changes, by the way. None. I think that they are okay. I think that the top came down a little bit, which helps them because they struggle into killing big stuff. And I think they're in an okay spot. I don't think they're going to just be dominating everything, but I think, you know, when they were at the bottom of the middle pack and then the top comes down just a little bit, they'll go up a little bit.
Yep.
Who you got?
Death Guard. I think they're a good army.
I think you are correct. I
mean, and I'm not just saying that because I play them, is they have been very consistent, even after all the nerfs of 2025 in the summer. they have still like hung in there and have been as tough and resilient as their models are. I mean, they took some point hikes early. They took some point hikes towards the end of the year, but they're still hanging strong. There's plenty of options in there, and there's tech still out there that, the masterminds of Nurgle are still trying to figure out. We have a decent range. We're not like our other Chaos Faction World Eaters with a small range. We're not like some of these other armies with a small range. Could we have more points adjustments, like minus 15 points to a Demon Prince with wings? Newsflash, we're not Emperor's Children. Our
Yep.
Demon Prince with wings sucks. The regular Demon Prince on foot's better. So, but I still think we're a good army. We've started off this year slow, but we've, trudged on
You
through.
peaked, but then you didn't bottom out. You just kind of stayed as a
We
solid faction.
plateaued.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. Okay. I'm going to do, let's see. I'm going to do my sisters. I'm going to put my sisters in middle of you can have fun. I think that if you really know what you're doing and you're a really good pilot, you can win a GT. If you are just the average player, you're going to get stuck going 4-2 or 3-2. And the main problem that you're going to have is Guard and Necrons are going to be a nightmare to deal with, because we don't have the units to deal with, like the volume of units to deal with Guard appropriately. And we don't have the volume to appropriately deal with Necrons, because if we tech for those, we'll struggle into the rest of the stuff. And if we make a balanced list to take on all comers, we're not appropriately teched for those. So I do think it's going to be tough. I think you can make some, there's some good stuff out there. We got no points changes, 0. So I think that they're in a fine place. You're going to see them pop up every once in a while, but I do not expect to see them just rocking and rolling.
Yeah. I will choose Genestealer Cult as my Pokemon here. I will put them in You Can Have Fun, and I would put them towards the upper cut because they've been showing out recently.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would actually put them at the top of You Can Have Fun.
Yeah, they've been showing out. I don't think they got scathed at all.
They didn't get touched. Not a point. Not 1 point to them.
They didn't catch a stray from another book or allied unit. Some of the meta came down to them a little bit. So I think that they're in a great spot going into the end of the edition. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they have a big summer.
Yep. I'm going to do Dark Angels, and I'm going to put them right next to Genestealers. I think that they didn't take not a single point. I think that they are a solid army right now. The list that I've been running, so I've been playing other armies against people in the Discord and against my friends and stuff, but I haven't really been like the army that I've been quietly practicing has been my Dark Angels, and my list didn't change, like not 1 point. And the fact that now the armies that I'm fighting, they theoretically lost just a little bit. I think Dark Angels are pretty good. I think that their tough matchups, surprisingly, are different. Tau are going to be a tough matchup for them. I think Dark Angels pair extremely well into Guard. Guard hate army-wide +1 to wound. They absolutely despise it. And Necrons, we have the tools. So I like to run 2 speeders and a strike. And so when you all of a sudden can shoot volume plasma fire at 3 damage, you don't care that they have -1 because it's still doing 2 damage a shot, and you can wound on 4s. You can start cranking some damage into those bad boys. And the important thing is they can't heal now. So now that they can't heal, that in itself really helps Dark Angels. I think the hard part Dark Angels are going to have is Chaos Space Marines can be a little tough, and I think Tau can be tough. But I do think if you know what you're doing, you know how to use the Lion, I think you've got really good game into a lot of stuff. So I don't think the only reason I'm not putting them in good armies is because I think that if you don't have a ton of reps in the army, then you're gonna Necrons are gonna seem unbeatable if you don't, or Guard, unless you have a lot of reps into them, and then you'll know how to. So for the average player, they're gonna be you can have fun, but if you're a good pilot, I think you can win a turn.
Sounds good. Admech, I'm going to put them in rough.
Yeah, I agree with you, brother. By the way, not a single army, 0 point change.
They had a strong showing at Worlds. The end of the year data slate hit them. and they're still trying to get off the map. I mean,
Yep.
that sums it up just right there.
Yeah, they have good tools. I think the problem is that they got hit a little rough because they were a little undercosted, and people are playing other things. They've got a small player base. I think you can win with them if you know what you're doing, but I think they're in a little bit of a rough spot. All right, Aeldari. Okay, so spicy take. I'm going to put them at the bottom if you can have fun. I've been playing a lot of Aeldari recently. So I played probably in this last Dataslate 15 matches with them, maybe more. And I lost more than I won with them. Now, granted, there's two things. One, pretty weak. Two, learning the army. But here's where my take comes in. With things coming down a little bit and now starting to understand how all their shenanigans start to work, I think you can have fun. I think if you're trying to win a tournament, it's going to be an uphill battle. Don't get it twisted. But I don't think that the average player is going to have a problem winning 2 games at a tournament. I think if you know what you're doing, you can win that third game. And then those last 2 is going to be a combination of luck and player knowledge. You know, if you get paired into an army, you have no idea what they do, it's going to be a little bit tougher. All of a sudden, you get paired into Genestealer Cults, and your best friend plays Genestealer, and you fought him 50 times. You're going to be like, all right, I know what to do. I'm currently playing with, they are an army that actually did get a points change. Azerman took a stray. I don't get that one, but whatever. But their wraiths, which are their tougher units, went down in points. I'm playing with a list that's got some wraiths. And, you know, one of the biggest problems I have with Aeldari is standing on the funny circles. Well, a unit with a 2 base save and a 4 up invuln, you know, 5 toughness and 3 wounds can stand on a funny circle. So I don't know. I don't know. I gotta play with it and see. But maybe there's something there. Maybe there's something there.
If there was no change to fire and fade, would they still be in You Can Have Fun?
No. If you could shoot and get back into a vehicle, personally, even with the point cost, I'd put them at the top of good armies. Because if they could shoot and get in the car, what you would do is you would put something out. You could bait out with whether it be guard or whoever, and then you could move up, shoot, get back into the vehicle, and then, you know, do those tricks to trade up with Fugan and the boys. So I think that would still be it's a really good mechanic. So I do think that would bump them up a level, but can't do it, so it doesn't matter.
I'm going to choose the Leagues of Votann, and I'm going to, and it saddens me to put them here, I'm going to put them in a rough spot.
Disagree strongly, but I'll put them there and listen to you.
They started off pretty strong. They have
you didn't read the Ministorum Field Manual.
No, I did not read the full thing because I was at work.
They changed their get in and out of a car. They reverted it. So for everybody to understand what we're talking about, their newer detachment, not the one that just came out, but the one their Christmas detachment, was at the start of any phase they could get it in or out of a car, which was really good to flip objectives. But then it went to you had to be in like the whatever defensive thingy, and it had to be on your turn. Fortification. You had to be in fortification, fortified takeover, and it had to be on your turn. So it was like, okay, you're only going to do this ever once. They took away the fortified takeover. So now
it don't matter if you're in fortified takeover or hostile acquisition.
You can use a stratagem to get out of the car. So this is going to be insane for flipping points because you can drive your transport up. If they bring some models over, you can use it in the command phase to get your dudes out OC them, you score the point, and those guys didn't have to get threatened to get shot. So I actually think that I'm bumping them up. Like with that tech.
With that change, yes.
I think they're going to be a little spicy. I think we also don't know how good their new stuff is. But that in the hands of a good player, that's a very good mechanic.
And there's a lot of Votann players out there.
There are. All right. I'm gonna do the blueberries. The blueberries actually took some nerfs. So I'm gonna put them in good army. Cato and Gravgar went to Legends. So now you have to take the Terminator or Cato Sicarius, the actual one, which the Cato Sicarius thing wasn't a big change. Nobody was taking the old Captain Saro or Sicario or whatever his name was. People were taking Gravgar and the 2 Vitrix Guard. So that's a nerf. Wardens of Ultramar went up in points. Repulsor Executioner went up in points. The Dreadnought went up in points. And the Combi Lieutenant went up in points. So the average Space Marine, like Ultramarine list, probably went up, God, like 80 to 90 points. Now, when you have to take the Terminator Gravgar instead of the Gravgar, you don't have the Vitrix Guard. So you save 60 points there. But the point being is that their list probably went up 30, 40 points, and they don't have as good of a unit in one of their units. They did go down a little bit. It's not anything insane, but they went down a little bit. I think they're going to be probably right at the top of good armies. I think they'll be very good. I could also be convinced to put them in Meta Monday picks also.
And if you want to know more, he did a short earlier today talking about that same exact thing. So check that out.
I broke it all down.
I am going did it Grimdark style too. I am going to take Emperor's Children. I'm going to put them in You Can Have Fun.
You can have fun.
I don't think they're in rough shape, but they're not like in the best spot. I mean,
agree with you. I think they were rough before, but I think when everything else gets a teeny nerf, they get a little better.
Yep.
It's that simple. I'm gonna do the same thing with Drukhari. I think Drukhari are kind of at the bottom of You Can Have Fun. I don't think they're particularly good or bad. I think that they had no changes. I mean, let me rephrase. They had some changes. Nobody gives a shit about racks. They don't do anything. They're a pointless data sheet. So like they really didn't have any changes in anything meaningful. But I think they're okay.
All right, and that leaves
we can just throw these boys into
I
eBay.
was going to say we've got Imperial Agents and Deathwatch, and I was going to say I suggest we just throw them in the eBay pile and we.
Yeah, I think Deathwatch, You Can Have Fun. Like if that's your thing and all that, that's great. Have at it. But this is our list. Here's the thing. It is abundantly clear that we are getting a 11th edition. And Adepticon is, let's see, I can't remember. March 25th. I think
it's the next big one.
I think the 26th, that Thursday is when the show is. So we have basically T-minus 21 days, and I believe that they will be announcing. So here's my prediction. I think we will get the cinematic for 11th edition at the event, and then they'll be talking about it. They'll give us plenty of like teases and hints and things, but it is coming fast and furious. Here's the thing. When you look at this and you go, okay, we've got a couple of armies that are at the bottom. We've got a few. This is the way the game always is. The only one that's egregious, really, in my opinion, is I do think Guard and Necrons both could have used a little bit more red, but whatever. The game's in a fairly balanced place. I think they just said, don't break it, and let's get to 11th edition. And we're all going to just hope that 11th edition is full of leprechauns and unicorns and rainbows and all the lovely things.
And a whole lot of tears, because every edition has it when those data slates drop. You think you're hot, and then you find out you're not. I mean,
yep, that is true. That is true. So we're going to be putting out a prediction video for 11th. We've got some thoughts on every single faction, so that'll be coming real soon. But hopefully you like this. Drop a like, subscribe, so we can get more content like this out to all of you guys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Also, if you don't like what we picked here and you feel like your army was done unjustly, put it down in the comments and give your justifications as to why.
Space Corgis. All right, we'll see you guys in the next one.